which is still in the Czech Republic. Oh dear. Still in the Czech Republic, going north towards Dresden. This is the train which goes from Vienna Hauptbahnhof to Stralsund, which is in the northern part of East Germany near to the Baltic Sea. And it goes through Prague. Just got on it at Prague, and now we're going north towards the German border. It's been following the Moldava or the Vltava for most of the journey. I just saw a particularly picturesque part, reached for the camera, but by that time the train had moved away, so now I'm waiting for the train to get next to the river again, which it does every few minutes, and show you how nice this journey is, going up from Prague to Dresden, which is the journey which I'm doing today. So the river is probably just behind that ridge over there. Well, as luck would have it, when I get the camera out, the best views are gone. But stick with it for a second and see where this goes. You see some interesting mountains in the distance. And this is the Moldav's floodplain. You can see the mountains in the distance being. I'm not sure whether that would be part of the Sudeti range or not, so I don't want to make a pronouncement on it and be wrong, but this appears. Ah, there we are. We've just gone past the Moldav's and I've gone on to the other side. Oh, what an interesting piece of architecture that one is. It's like an old factory. You do get a lot of Bohuszowice, this one's called. And you do get quite a lot of older industrial buildings, looking fairly disused in many cases, with the most tremendous natural backdrops, and that seems to be a feature of the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic, incidentally, is quite a long-winded way of saying the name of the country, which could be abbreviated, but the question is to what? In the olden days, of course, it was together with Slovakia, and people called it Czechoslovakia. Before that, it was simply various parts of the Austro-Hungarian Empire which had different names, like Moravia, Bohemia, and getting it all together into one country, and then separating it out to Slovakia leaves you with the question of what it's actually called. And sometimes people say, obviously the full official name is the Czech Republic. Some people abbreviate this just to Czech, but that's an adjective, and so therefore it's sometimes a little bit ambiguous as to whether somebody's talking about the country or the language. So if somebody says, I'm in charge of this in Czech, you're not sure whether they're saying that they're in charge for the country or they're in charge for the language, for things done in that language. So it's probably better to use the term Czechia for the country, but this hasn't caught on. It was the official term, Czechia, C-Z-E-C-H-I-A, but it didn't catch on very well. So in the English-speaking world, people tend to still say either the Czech Republic in the long-winded way every time they say it, if they don't like to say Czech, or they simply abbreviate it to Czech and hope that people understand from the context what they mean. That basically, I would have preferred it if the term Czechia had caught on, because it's the same in English as it is in a number of other languages. And German has Czechian. Czechia is an unofficial version of it. And most other Czechia is Russian. Most other countries take a version for the country sounding like Czechia, or Czechia, which is uncontroversial for them. But somehow the English-speaking world hasn't been too keen on adapting Czechia as a name for the country. So there's more on this in Wikipedia. There's a whole article in Wikipedia which describes the controversy of naming this country in English and also in the Czech language as well, especially as the term in Czech, Česko, favours one particular nationality out of the composite of nationalities that make up this nation, in the opinion of some people. But I don't know enough about it to be able to comment on that at all. There is apparently some controversy even as to how this country should be called in its own language, so what chance do we have in achieving unity with regards to other language versions as well? So for the time being, the controversy remains. Město. Interesting in Czech if you have an M. Here we are. We're with the Moldava again. There's some boat going down there, and now we're going to see some of the views that I was hoping for, hopefully. Little port here. Nabytek means furniture in Czech, or nábytek. There's the river. Pozor means take care, attention. In Czech, if you have an M followed by that's what I was going to say, an M followed by an E with a hat on, the E with the hat on is a yeah. The M is like a normal M usually, but if you stick those two together, you don't get mnie, you get mnie. So something which looks like miasto, which is place or town, is město. Only after an M does the E with the hat on have that effect. I say hat, it's actually haček, it's a hook. Oh, look at that. The lovely rocks. That's a view, isn't it? Interesting the way that the road and the railway are on two separate levels, following around the contour of the river around this mountain. I say mountain, it's not really a mountain as yet, but it's a hill. So if you want to see this for yourself, the thing to do is to take the train from Prague to Dresden and sit on the right side of the train from the direction of which it's travelling, so that you can see the better views. I've looked out the other window as well, but it's not as good a view as on this side. As the river, it follows the river around mainly on this side.
Slábnou Slábnoucí záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou splývá a mně se stýská lásko má, z mých snů jen málo zbývá. Slábnoucí záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou splývá a mně se stýská lásko má, z mých snů jen málo zbývá, když slýchám zprávy lodníků a na tvou tvář se ptávám, prý s Rusou láskou chodíváš, všech nadějí se vzdávám. Slábnoucí záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou splývá a mně se stýská lásko má, z mých snů jen málo zbývá. V mých představách jsi stále můj a náruč tvá mě skrývá, však trpká příchuť zůstává a ve vzpomínkách zbývá. Slábnoucí záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou zpívá a mně se stýská lásko má, z mých snů jen málo zbývá. Až k ostrovům tak vzdáleným, k zeleným irským pláním, svou píseň lásko
It's getting much more mountainous at this point.
a slzám svým se
I have to say, it's one of the prettiest train journeys that I've seen.
záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou splývá a mně se stýská lásko má, z mých snů jen málo zbývá. Slábnoucí záře sluneční nad mořem s dálkou
Czechs are very casual about all this natural beauty that they've got and usually plonk something industrial down right next to it. I mean, where else are they going to put it? Since there's beauty everywhere, they have to stick it somewhere if they want to have industry, so it's very common that things which in Poland would have all the industry taken away from them and put somewhere else. So those places have got industry going on right in the middle with older factories. Ústí nad Labou is a fairly large if it says Laba, that means on the Elba river. Maybe this is already the Elbe river rather than the Vltava river. Just have to find out later and then give you the correct information on the blurb. The Moldava, of course, falls into the Elba. Beautiful around here, isn't it? Ústí nad Labem. Well, it means like Ústí means mouth, so it's presumably the estuary onto the Elbe. I was looking back on Dresden Hauptbahnhof, and this is the kind of pedestrian precinct with all the modern shops. But that looks like something's left to be built on. Some kind of big underground bunker that needs to be rebuilt. So that's the middle of modern Dresden. Contigo. Young lady playing the accordion there. Pullman, the boulevard. Somebody just sprinkled her money over the floor. A beautiful tree there with the blossoms on all red. Light spotting of rain. The good weather that we had at the weekend hasn't held up. Nice frieze there made out of natural stone with colours. Ah, that's an interesting statue. This person riding a donkey who's pulling somebody's trousers off by the looks of things. I'm not entirely sure what the meaning of that is, but it's very Germanic. And a nice fountain which is pretty much hitting... I can't tell whether it's the rain or bits of that being driven by the wind that's hitting me here in the face, but it's certainly getting carried quite a long way. Losing quite a lot of the water from the middle part. Yes, there's definitely bits of that definitely getting as far as here. Another day. A bunch of little fountains. So it's called Pragerstrasse, which is presumably the street going to Prague from Dresden. It's only about 120-130 kilometres, so it's like next door almost in Central European terms. At Pragerstrasse is the name, and there's Prager pizza, so Prague pizza Not exactly the sort of food that you would associate with the Czech Republic, but we are. And an Ibis hotel and an international Dixieland festival in Dresden, which is not necessarily the kind of music you'd necessarily associate with Germany, but Dixieland, there you go. It's fairly international, isn't it? Easy listening. It's an interesting piece of modern art here. Sort of golden ball being held in place by some holly leaves, and more interesting pieces of architecture here on Prager Straße. So let's not forget that Dresden not so long ago didn't look like this, because it was a communist country, or rather city in a communist country.
Kommunistische Literatur.
Okay, danke schön. Ja, ich kenne es alles. Dialektischer Materialismus. Yes. So he was a nice guy, offering communist literature and standing under a huge flag of the Soviet Union. One has to wonder about these people's sanity. Even the Russians these days don't do the sort of stuff that he was doing, but then communism was really an idea worked out by Germans in Germany and seems to represent for them, even though the German Democratic Republic was no fun, it nevertheless seems to represent an abiding temptation for some of them to go back to. Certainly life was simpler then for certain classes of society. Certainly there was protection in place for certain human difficulties, which don't get protected under the capitalist system well enough, arguably. Well, the answer is to have things from one system and things from another system in a blend, in a mix. At the moment, Western capitalism is veering very, very, very closely towards the model that Marx seems to have been proposing, really. Certainly capitalism doesn't look today as it did in the days when he was writing. What we have here spread out there like a worm is actually an intestine. It's a mock-up of the human intestine with Faszination Darm written next to it, and you can walk through a model of your own intestine there, and sort of like find out what it's like to be a piece of food going through you. And I wouldn't want to poo-poo that as an experience. So here we are. This is the old market square of Dresden, which has got plenty of market stalls in it. Somebody there shouting his head off at regular intervals. You can't have an old market square without that. It's good for tourism. There's like a maypole there in the middle, it being the 5th of May today. Uh-huh. Alter Backstüber. Spargel. I've never understood this German fascination with asparagus, but they have every May. They have like days of asparagus where you're supposed to eat it, and it's supposed to do you good. Spargelfest they call it. Asparagus seems to be their national vegetable, in May anyway. This is regarded as a great delicacy. So there's the Dresdner Philharmonie on there, the Dresden Philharmonic Orchestra's concert hall, or Culture Palace of Dresden as it's also called, Kulturpalast Dresden.
Or if we would like to go to this Czech, so what about that?
So that's what their trams look like.
And back, yeah.
Very nice. Yes, here it says Willkommen zum Frühjahrsmarkt, which means welcome to the early year's market. It means spring market effectively. So you've got the maypole there in the middle there like that. It's quite similar to an English maypole in a way. So you've got Aus Sachsen's Töpfen is over there, from Saxon's cookpot, or Saxony's cooking pot, I should say. Saxony is, so you talk about the British, or the English at any rate, not the British, but we talk about the English as Anglo-Saxons, and of course the Saxons were, as well as the Angles, were the tribe which gave their name to that description of the English, and also gave their name to the description of this area of Germany as Saxony or Sachsen, and also to another part not far away called Sachsen-Anhalt, and also to Lower Saxony, which is Nordrhein-Westfalen. No, that's not. It's Niedersachsen. Lower Saxony. Nordrhein-Westfalen is Westphalia. We're getting close to a very interesting building. There we are. That's got class, hasn't it? No doubt about it. So, that's the visitor centre here. So you can visit the visitor centre, and it tells you about what to look for, I suppose, when you go to the actual object itself. Frauenkirche. Now, Frauenkirche obviously means ladies' church. That doesn't mean that it's a church that only ladies are allowed to go in. It means it's like the Church of Our Lady. It means it's another one of those churches as common in Catholicism where the mother of Jesus is a little bit more important than he is himself, which I've never been able to understand. Some architectural work uncovering this. Bearing in mind that Dresden was bombed at the end of the Second World War quite ferociously, there's probably an awful lot of this sort of stuff left to uncover. Dresden as it once was. This is presumably before the destruction of the city. All of this will have been rebuilt, of course, because the Allies made a fairly thorough job of wreaking vengeance. I have to probably call it wreaking vengeance on Dresden. Dresden's history, of course, goes back a lot further than that, and in the Napoleonic Wars, especially the decisive Battle of Leipzig, various of the main contenders, both the French and the Russians, as well as later the Prussians, had their headquarters here at various times. And this city passed from hand to hand in the Napoleonic Wars between the French and the Russians and the Prussians on many different occasions. Oh, there's Martin Luther there. Martin Luther coming from an area of Germany not far from here. And there's Friedrich Augustus II, also known as the King of Saxony, on that. And here's Hotel de Saxe, Steinberg, Hotel of Saxony.
Hier stehe ich. Ich kann nicht anderes.
So here under the Frauenkirche you've got the good old rickshaw revolution. These plastic rickshaws that we saw also in Warsaw last year haven't come back there yet. Maybe these are the ones, I don't know, but it's riksha-dresden.de if you want to book one. And looking back at the back of Luther and the squares down there. Here you've got the usual thing that happens now in every marketplace. You've got actors pretending to be different things, just standing there as still as they can and earning themselves a few coppers that way. I think it's a little bit, I don't like it much myself, I can say, because once you've seen a few of those you've seen them all, and they just seem to basically mess the place up. Oh, here we go. Dem Vaterland zu Zier und Ehr. To the decoration and the reputation, if you like, of the fatherland. I've just been inside the Frauenkirche with my friends here, and it's actually very nice inside. They say don't film, so I didn't. You know, it says treat this as a house of God and with respect, and so that's what I did. I didn't film in there, but I can advise you to go and look at that amazingly painted, very ornate, very Coca-Cola architecture that they have inside there. Don't expect to find an awful lot of communion with the Lord in prayer there, because there's an awful lot of people passing through just admiring the architecture, and it's not a very peaceful place, but the architecture certainly is worth a look. Right, well, it looks like part of the old city wall. There's a horse-drawn bus, which I don't think I've ever seen before, a horse-drawn bus there. If you go in that direction there was, oh, I think I've missed it, but this is where you come down to the river, down the old cobbled, well, there's somebody dressed up in old well, it's difficult to say what that regalia is, because he's got strange aspects from all different sorts of dress, but probably something from the Napoleonic period or shortly afterwards. They've got a cafe here called Ayers Rock, which has obviously got an Australian theme. What exactly Australian food is other than Vegemite, I'm not sure. When I asked Graham about it, Lord Moggy, or Night Shift Moggy as he now is called, he simply said things which I would associate with British food, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Terrassengasse, that's what this one's called. There's kind of a spring there in the middle hanging there, and an old clock. And here we come down to the river down there, the Elba, obviously. And Cannon Terrace Evidently some clue as to the history of this piece of architecture. Okay. Whew. I'm up a bit from the street down there, and there's the view of the Elbe. Art for sale. Looks like a pier there, or a mooring for boats to take trips on the Elba. There seems to be a mosque building over there. It is a very nice river.
Developed to be nice. Green and
yeah, that's right.
it's nice. I mean, it's so different to Prague this part.
Well, it looks a bit like Krakow, doesn't it, this bit, because they're
Yeah,
quite green
yeah.
near the near Krakow as well. Dem Andenken Ernst Reichels. I don't know who Ernst Reichel is either. I feel uneducated now. I have to make something up as to who Ernst Reichel was, but I can't think of anything that has been done that I can't think offhand the inventor for that I could blame it on him. Very nice formal tree cropping now. Right. So here we have another sacred building by the looks of things, with some very impressive
The big one.
a little bit of rain spotting down. And almost like a bridge of size between this building and that building is over there. This is very interesting architecture, very beautiful. So Dresden has a lot to offer the visitor. Providentiae memor. And then this place here, this frieze on the wall here, commemorates, if you like, the years in which this was the German Democratic Republic, with its red star and its hammers and sickles and worker, very Soviet style art on that frieze there. It was, after all, 30 odd years of communist rule around here.
German.
So this is a Singer gallery. Albrecht Dürer's project, yeah?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of his work in
but
there?
Alveg also
Work on show?
work.
Oh, okay. He's the main man on show there. He was from near here, yeah? The guy with the praying hands.
Old German painter.
Okay. Interesting transport nodes here. I'm not sure either exactly what that costume is, but it is a traditional wanderer's costume, and I think it's quite an old-fashioned traditional wanderer's costume that he's got on with that hat on and his backpack done in exactly that way in cloth. So and that particular stock that he's got. Yeah. He's doing a traditional thing here in that.
In Czech Republic are now
So he's off doing his traditional walk and his traditional get-up.